It's currently 4:47 a.m. on October 16th. I have a project due in about 22 hours, and I want to really quickly review Silent Hill 2 without getting into spoilers, because my brother-in-law absolutely loves this game and he'll watch this video. This will just have some Silent Hill 2 footage in the background, so you can just go about your day and just watch me play. So we're just going to talk about my thoughts on it and just why I think it is a perfect game for what they did with it. Number one, I want to jump off the bat and say this. This game did not scare me as much as I thought it might. Now, I've played a portion of Silent Hill 2 on the Xbox and then the 360, and I played it on PC a little bit. Never really could get into it. Maybe a maximum of like 20, 30 minutes. Ran down the thing, but on the 360 especially, it was running pretty bad. But I got it from a play and trade for like, I think $10, I think 20, maybe 20. And this is the same one I traded Conker's Bad Fur Day 2 and Link's Awakening DX on the Game Boy Color. Neither here nor there, but maybe it was $5 and picked up the Restless Dreams copy or whatever it was. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And when I look back at what I've played, the atmosphere was really cool, but I was kind of younger at that time, and I'm like, maybe I'm kind of scared. Like I was an adult, but I was a younger adult, and I didn't do too well with more horror games. I have memories of Code Veronica, yeah, I was gonna say DX or whatever it is, a director's cut on Dreamcast, and playing that and getting scared. So for me, I'm like, I can't really do horror games all that much. Alone in the Dark, the first one on the Macintosh, scared the crap out of me. I played the demo. Another World or Out of This World. It wasn't a horror game, but that scared me. Doom and Wolfenstein scared me as a kid. There's things that I played. Eight-Legged Freaks and Hexen 2. These things were terrifying to me. So for me personally, to play this game, now as an adult, I'm like, you know what? I've played Outlast. I've played Outlast Whistleblower. I've played plenty of other things, right? I've played a lot of other games over the years. Maybe it's time to play it. And I like survival horror games. I find them really fascinating. But I've never finished anything Resident Evil besides Resident Evil 5, sort of. And I finished Resident Evil 4. But that's more action, action adventure versus horror game. There's a video watch. It's really, really good, and I think you should watch it. It's basically 4 reviews of Resident Evil. And it talks about why the Resident Evil on the GameCube, the original, was the best version of it. It was more horror-esque versus the one that I played, which was the HD remake on PC I streamed it on Twitch in 2016. Anyway, I thoroughly enjoyed Resident Evil. Then I played through 7, or Biohazard, 7 Biohazard, which always makes me chuckle. And I played through Biohazard 8 Village, or Resident Evil Village. I played that with my wife and everything shortly after we got married. Had a lot of fun with it. It was a really, really, really fun game. Played it on a GTX 1080. Anyway, not that that matters at all, but we're now 3 minutes into this video. And I haven't even jumped into the actual review. That's why I said it's going to be a long one. So Resident Evil is one of those games that I understand why people like. And I've played the first one. I played most of the remake for number 2. But Silent Hill, I never really got all that into. I tried out For the Room. I tried out the first one on the PlayStation. I noticed there was like a Shakespearean puzzle, and I was in like the other world, and I'm like, I'm too scared. I'm playing this in my basement. I'm freaked out. And then, like I said, Silent Hill 2, I was just like, this is a fascinating concept, and I like it. But I watched more videos from like Max Durat, shout out to him, and other people who've done like lore, like in-depth, deep dives and stuff. And I played so much of Room of Angel from number 4 on my good old iMac and on Spotify and everything over the years. I love that song. You lie, sitting there before me, your tears, they don't mean nothing to me. And when I actually, started playing the game and I found out like the full explanation, I'm like, oh, actually it's kind of sad. It really is. It's an incredibly sad song. So, and I listen to Silent Hill 2 around spooky season, like Halloween, all the time. Like I listen to the soundtrack constantly. And even Silent Hill 3 and 1 and stuff, like I love it. So like I understand the story. But when I finally played this game, I was super excited. It was announced on my birthday a few years ago, and I was like, this looks really good. I don't know anything about Blobber Team. I don't know anything about Layers of Fear, Observer, I think I own, but I don't really know anything about their work. But I just know that we never got Silent Hills or PT. We never got anything past that, and people were incredibly disappointed in it. And I realized, you know what, the Japanese are really, really, really good at horror and unsettling things. So I jumped into this thinking that Silent Hill 2 Remake was going to be a scary game. So I played it with my lights off, with my headphones on, and I had fun. It wasn't a horror game for me, and that's okay. It was unsettling. There was moments where I jumped for sure, got kind of spooked. My wife is next to me, and something like a mannequin ran at me, but I didn't really get scared, which I appreciated because I have a hard time sleeping at times when I play a horror game. So for me, I'm just like, I don't want to experience this. But I did get that feeling of dread and that feeling of depression and that feeling of just emotional instability. And I did get the feeling that they were going with this game. So that's why I'm going to say it's my top game of 2024. Last year's game by far was Alan Wake 2. Alan Wake 2 is far scarier than this game was. But Alan Wake 2 used jump scares. They were very successful jump scares, but they were jump scares nonetheless. This didn't really have any jump scares that I noticed. And there was things when I was kind of just, my brain was like, oh, I just want to get through this and stuff. So there's that. So, I thoroughly enjoyed what I played with it. I liked the map design. I liked the, again, coming from just seeing videos and stuff, I was kind of expecting these story beats to play out, how they played out. But I was really impressed with just how they played out, seeing this stuff happen. I used walkthroughs because I didn't have time. I'm a dad. I don't have time to sit there and play games and try to figure out puzzles. There's a few puzzles I figured out on my own for sure, but there's a few ones, like the one that comes to mind is the one where you are trapped in a room and you have to figure out the answer by, you can't leave and stuff, and that one's a pain in the butt. And then there's another one too, where it was a bug one, or it's like the beetle one or whatever. Couldn't figure it out, but I kept getting it. And there's and in different walkthroughs, they said, oh, enter this 3-digit code, and it's always going to be this one. But it's not. So anyway, some of them I just brute forced, and then other ones I just kind of learned the pattern on. One that comes to mind is at the Lakeview Hotel, and you have to figure out 4 different answers and stuff. Anyway, I thought that was really cool. I like that there's a lot of things that kind of carry forward from the previous game, and so forth. And I like how they did the story. I really thought it was a well done story. Really takes you through the depths of humans, really. And that's why I'm thinking it's not a horror game. It's not. It's more, it's a thriller. It's more like a Twin Peaks-esque type of story versus being an outright slasher or like super creepy story. So for me, like, I look at it, I'm like, this was a great experience, and I'm glad I played it. My only real complaint about it would probably just be the fact that it was not too short and not too easy. It just felt like I wanted more. And I think that's not really a complaint about the game necessarily. That's just the nature of games now. We have a certain dollar value set in our minds that we think games are going to be. And when they are that dollar value, we expect it to be, okay, it's going to give me this much entertainment out of it. When I was hearing people were clocking in at like 18 hours for it, I was expecting my playthrough to take about that. I had 14 hours. And I'm just going to say it because I don't have any concerns about it. I did use a trainer, so like a trainer tool, or tool, to get past the labyrinth area towards the end of the first one. The reason I did that was because I had gotten the right way and I was doing it, but I just did not. I was just getting tired. And so maybe there's one complaint I heard where people say it kind of drags on in a way. And when I look at the original version of it and the runtime of that, most people are clocking in at 6 to 8 hours. That game, 6 to 8 hours is honestly ideal. I want to discuss it because I think it's incredibly important. One of the biggest issues with Resident Evil 7 or Biohazard 7 Biohazard with Ethan Winters is the length of the game. And there's one big issue with that one where it just feels like it fell apart. Story, thematically, it was perfectly fine. But gameplay-wise, it was the weakest part of the game. And if you haven't played Resident Evil 7, unfortunately, I'm not going to spoil anything, but I'm going to say there's a ship sequence in that game that is incredibly important from a story perspective, but incredibly annoying to play through. Every horror game, every survival horror game has a moment in the game when you're like, okay, like, are we wrapping this up? Like, not even so much even that. I think about Borderlands 2, and I remember specifically talking to my sister's ex-boyfriend at the time about this when they were still together, and we were talking about it. I'm like, Borderlands 2, man, it's such a good game, really, really, really good. But it feels like it's a moment, and then it's another moment, and then another, and it just keeps going and going and going. Like, recently I was playing Borderlands 2 on Ultimate Vault Hunter mode, and I'm getting through the bunker fight, and I'm like, okay, like I know it's coming next, but in my brain, I'm just like, I do not want to go through this again because it's such a long, drudged out thing. Like, honestly, Borderlands 2 is a great game, but if you take away all the original stuff, like Borderlands 1, I should say, is a great game, but if you take away all of the first, like, 20, 30, 40 minutes of it, and jump right into it, it's so much better. Those first two missions upon repeat playthroughs are just mind-numbing. Like, that's how I'm probably going to feel about this one, is that it's going to feel like it's going to be, there's moments where I just kind of want to jump into the action, if you will. Or you get to a moment in the game, it's like that middle section where it's just like, okay, are we almost done? Like, I just kind of want to move on with the story. That's unfortunately there is parts of Silent Hill 2 where, because of that additional, like, 8 hours of content, 6 to 8 hours, or 7 to 8 at least, you're kind of just like going through the motions because as a first-time player, you're like, I want to do this. Now, had I jumped into this game without any preconceived notions, without any, like, setup, without understanding anything of the story, I probably would have enjoyed it even further, but I might have still had the same issue. There were some moments where I'm like, oh, that's cool that they did it that way, but mostly overall, I'm just kind of like, okay, like, this has been a fun game, but I want to just move on with my day and get to another game. And it's not that the game is ever bad in that sense. It's just there's moments when you're like, I kind of just want to just go to bed, or I kind of want to just do something else besides this right now because it's just dragged on for way too long. That is my biggest problem with a lot of horror games that just go on and on and on and on and on, because you're just kind of sitting there at the edge of your seat waiting. And then when you get into the game, you're like, okay, that was fine. Yeah, so that's really just that. That's my biggest bugbear or pet peeve or whatever. It's just that it's incredibly drawn out, and it makes you feel like you're just kind of sitting there waiting for the game to kind of end or start or whatever. The way I view games for single player stories is that I view it from the perspective of, or I view it from this idea of, am I going to enjoy this game after an hour? Hour is kind of a perfect time to set a game up because you get that sense of what the game's about. You get the sense to understand who the characters are a little bit, and you have more of a, there's more some stakes there. There's some reason to play, and you have a chance to do some tutorials and stuff. And that hour mark is kind of, some games it's like very short, and other ones it's very, very, very long, right? So you're kind of just sitting there and you're just waiting and waiting and waiting for, the story to just, the game to get on, right? That's where a lot of games need to have those tightened controls. And I would say 10 out of 10 in that section with Silent Hill 2. Like, it does it honestly perfect. It's really, really good. The issue I have with Silent Hill 2, and this is more of the spoiler area, so turn back now or jump to this point. The biggest issue I have with Silent Hill 2 is specifically... Have everyone left? Okay. The jail is probably the scariest area of the entire game, for sure, for me. the hospital is creepy for sure, but the jail is just freaky. The prison is just scared. Like but it's unnecessarily scary. Like it doesn't need to be. And a big part of that is just the backtracking that's involved with it and trying to get a specific item. It's just kind of, and I didn't really get scared in that sense of, oh, my pants are, gonna be wet or anything like that. It was more along the lines of, this is actually freaky. Like I put myself in those shoes. I would have liked, this is just me being nitpicky. So thank you for listening to that. Hopefully, if you didn't want to see spoilers, you're at this part. I would have liked to see the puzzles get redone. I get why they did it the way they did it, but I would have liked to see the puzzles be redone in, Unreal Engine 5. Like I would have loved to see those puzzles that were skipped be done. I get why they didn't do it, but it would have been cool for the sake of it, for comparison. Same thing with the voiceover. It would have been cool to have, how like Cyberpunk has additional features after the fact. It would have been cool to see that happen with this game, where you can basically turn on the old voices or turn on the new voices. Because games are, they're almost infinite in some ways. This game's only really like 30 something gigs. So I think having an additional like 4 or 5 gigs, I think you could have easily had, the HD collection could have been in there. That at least that version could have been in there. And I also think having the other one, which would have been, the original, I think having that in there too would have been very, very beneficial to players to just be able to swap between it, right? I was also thinking they were going to do like a different camera angle type of feel, where if they, you shoot someone, why did I say shoot? Sorry, I'm falsely. A different camera angle sort of deal, where basically if you go to like, how in Grand Theft Auto 3, how you could press the back button, the camera button, and you would get to the top down view. And that was the only one that actually did it, because Vice City never did, and San Andreas never did. If you were to play that game, you would kind of get to the GTA original mode. I was kind of hoping they would do that with this game, where the camera angle shifts back to the original camera's perspective, and you get that feel again too. There's mods out there which allow you to add the old, James's jacket back, and add the old skins and stuff. And I think it's cool that they have that feature, or have that as a mod. But I look at it and I'm like, oh well, this actually would have been better, in basically embedded into the game. So that's kind of why I'm like 50-50 or whatever on the fence about it, because I'm thinking it would have been cool to have, but at the same time, you don't really need it. But I think it would have made the game a little bit, just kind of had a fresh coat of paint and had like as a mode. So there's that. But the music, sound effects, sound design, it's exquisite. It's perfect, top-notch stuff. I would also say that you're kind of just sitting there enjoying what's been given to you as a consumer, as a player. And I think that's ultimately where things are going, where we need to, have those experiences and stuff. I'm definitely going to say that, I thoroughly enjoy what I've played, and I would definitely play more of it. I did mod some stuff and just took away the fog and just messed about and had a lot of fun. But when I look at it again, I'm like, I don't think it would have been beneficial to do it without the mod support. I think it would have made it. I think it was almost needed to have that type of, support for work. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. The game is good. I would thoroughly recommend getting. I'm sorry, I just realized this dog is there. You definitely have a moment where you could just play it how you want to play it, and I'm kind of expecting that to happen on the next the next time I play, really. So, but I don't think it will. Anyway, I'm excited to just see what they implement for the future on this, and I think that Bloober Team did an excellent job with what the source material they have, and I look forward to seeing what they do. Yeah, that's really all I got. I think it's, if you are looking for a really, really, really great thriller style of game, and you're looking, or not even really necessarily horror, but like a thriller, and you're looking for something that has a lot of personality to it, you couldn't go wrong with Silent Hill 2 Remake. They did a fantastic job with it, and I really am happy that we were able to get, you know, able to get a good feel on the situation. So there's my thoughts on Silent Hill 2. I'm gonna give the game a 9.9 out of 10. It's almost perfect in every single way. Things I liked: the controller UI. I was watching a person, Skinty and Jade. I was watching her stream it, and I noticed that they have the Xbox UI, which is really cool. I played with a DualSense controller, so I was able to get a lot of good, feedback and stuff. But I enjoyed it. It has adaptive trigger support, which was great. I would thoroughly play this game again in a year or so, just to have my memory kind of forget it. Might not happen, but I'm excited. So, yeah, I'm glad that everyone's doing well, and I hope you have a great rest of your week. And thank you again for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that usual stuff, and see you around. All right, bye for now.